You have had plenty of real life interactions with well-known people. And I mentioned it when we introduced you because this whole Shia LaBeouf encounter would wind up being very profound for him. And he was raised, as I understand it, his dad was Catholic and his mom was Jewish, or his dad was at least Christian. And
Christian, I think, yeah.
You wound up confirming him in the Catholic faith. So how did that happen?
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting story. You know, he was researching his role in this movie about Padre Pio, who was a Capuchin friar. And Shia, at that point in his life, was a little bit lost, I think. And the producer said, well, there's a Capuchin friary outside of L.A., and it was in my pastoral region. So I was an auxiliary bishop of Los Angeles. And my region was Santa Barbara County and Ventura County. So out in Santa Barbara County is this Capuchin friary. And so I had heard that Shia LaBeouf had gone out there and was talking to the friars. Well, then maybe a week or so later, I was at another friary out that way to give a talk to the deacons of my region. And I show up, and here I see this guy. It was during COVID. He had the big black beard and the COVID mask. So at first I didn't know who it was. And then I realized, oh, that's Shia LaBeouf. And he said, do you mind if I listen to your talk? It was a talk on prayer. I said, no, sure, come on in. So he listened to my talk. And then I went to the chapel, I remember, to pray before the Blessed Sacrament. And he came in and sat right next to me and was, I think, trying to figure out, okay, what are these people doing as they pray? Well, then a little bit later, the movie itself was made, and he showed us a early version of it, a group of us. But afterwards, he was asked, hey, tell me about the impact it had on you personally. And he told this beautiful story in a very compelling way about how researching Padre Pio and playing him brought him to a deep spiritual place. So I went up afterward and said, look, would you be willing to get this sort of on tape if you and I sit down and just talk it through? And he said, yeah, I'd love that. So it was the very last thing I did before I left California to come to Minnesota. I sat down with him, and for an hour and a half, I guess, we just talked about his spiritual life and his journey. And that little video was watched by, I don't know, like 3 million people or something. So, and then I give him a lot of credit. He started the process. He was articulate about it, but he hung in there as well. And he had been baptized as a young kid, but now he wanted to be confirmed in the Catholic Church. And so he kept working with these Capuchin friars whom he knew. And then I agreed to come out and do the confirmation service, which I did at the very end of December 2023. Wow. So it's been a privilege to walk with him.
Maybe I need to play a Catholic bishop in some sort of a movie or something. That could be of help to me. We have a little clip of you and Shia talking about this whole experience when he came on your YouTube channel. Here it is, Sat2.
You do this talk about prayer and how it's really a simple 4-step process, prayer, and I needed somebody to simplify it for me because it felt like, one, I needed it to be defined. I didn't want it to be this esoteric. I needed something very defined and very practical. I needed something very like boots on the ground. And you said, quiet leads to loving thoughts leads to loving action leads to peace. And that hit me heavy.
It was Mother Teresa I was quoting there. That's
whoever it was, it's changed my life.
Quiet leads to loving thoughts. I mean, does it depend on the person? I think quiet can drive some people crazy in today's day and age when they're used to the constant stimulation of, all the devices.
Yeah, well, he's remembering my citation of Mother Teresa because she begins with silence memorably. She ends up with peace and coming through, the works of love and all that. But she begins with silence, that has to be your first step. And I do think, especially today, that's very much needed. People are so distracted. And so just to come to a silent place where God can start to speak, is indispensable.
Financial experts thought we were in the clear. They were anticipating around 6 rate cuts by the Fed this year, and then the inflation data came out higher than expected. This isn't going away anytime soon. How could it? The U.S. is $34 trillion in the hole, and yet we just keep on printing money. which pushes the prices you pay every day even higher. So you can either bury your head in the sand or you can do something about it. One option to consider is to diversify a portion of your savings into gold with Birch Gold Group. Gold can be your hedge against inflation, and Birch Gold makes it easy to own. They will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, and you don't pay a penny out of pocket. Text Megyn to 989898 and get your free info kit on gold. Then speak with a precious metal specialist about how you can choose to protect your savings from persistent inflation with gold. Text Megyn, M-E-G-Y-N, to 989898 now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.